Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Crochets podcast. Hello, my name's Catherine. I'm coming to you from South London in the UK, and this is my podcast where I will share all my latest crochet makes with you and chat to you about what I have been up to. Welcome back if you've watched me before, and big hello to anyone who's watching me for the first time. It's really lovely to have you all here. I hope you're all well and you've all had a good few weeks. It was nearly the end of August last time I podcast, and things have changed quite a bit here. It was the summer holidays, it was really hot, and we hadn't had much rain last time I podcast, and now the summer holidays are over, the girls are back to school, and it has rained, so everything is looking much greener again, which is really nice. And it's also cooled down quite a bit, so been able to get out a few cardigans and jumpers, which has felt really good to get those out again. The end of the summer holidays were quite a busy time here. My older daughter's birthday is just after the start of term in September, and so because she's just started a new school, she's just moved to year 7, which is the start of secondary school here in the UK, and she's moved to a school that none of her other friends from her class were going to. We decided that she would celebrate her birthday at the end of the summer holidays this year with some of her friends from her school, because there just wouldn't have been time really for her to get to know and decide who to invite from her new school to celebrate with, because it was so soon after start term. Anyway, so she had one friend came to stay. She lives a little way away, she's moved away, so she came to stay for a few nights, and then she had another friend over as well for one of those nights, and they had a sleepover. I don't think it involved that much sleep, as you can probably imagine, but they had a really good time, and they went to go ape during the day and did tie-dye t-shirts and made lip balm and just had a really nice time together. So that was a really nice end to the holidays for my daughter, but quite busy, as you can probably imagine. And then we had all the getting ready for school, packing their bags, getting all their pencil cases ready at the end of the holidays, and that's always a bit frantic. So now they're actually back at school, and my oldest daughter's been settling into her new school. We're getting to know the school routines. Our morning routine and afternoon routine have changed a bit because of different drop-off arrangements, because they're at different schools now. So we're just sort of starting to know where we stand with things and getting into the swing of all the new routines. So it feels like after a really busy few weeks, things are starting to calm down again a bit now, and a bit more time to breathe and think about crochet again, and planning, and do more than just working on things in the evenings. So that's what's been going on here the last few weeks. But I have managed to fit in some crochet and knitting as well, I'm pleased to say. And I've got a few things to chat to you about today. So I've got one finished object, and well, I'm going to show you 2 finished objects actually. One I've finished since the last podcast, and one is something else I'm going to show you, which I'll explain in a bit. And then I've got one work in progress as well, and then a bit of other news. So the first thing I'm going to show you, finished object, is what I'm wearing actually. It's this, my Candelaria Cardigan, which is a design by Sandra Gutierrez of Nomad Stitches, and this I was working on in the last one. I'll stand up so you can get a full look at it. It's got nice ribbing on the cuffs, and at the bottom here. I put buttons on all the way down, although my buttonholes, I think either my buttons are too small or my buttonholes are ever so slightly too big, and so they do sometimes pop undone, but then I think it also looks quite nice. You can see how easily they undo there. Not doing it up as well, it fits quite nice like that, having it open. And then it's got this really nice, what do you call it, sort of lacy detail. Just trying to get a good way to show it to you. I don't know if you can see it. Quite shadowy, isn't it? If I take it off, maybe that will help. But yeah, really pretty pattern around the neck there. Let's see, yeah, there you can see it across the back. I hold it up. There. I haven't actually washed or blocked it yet, but I wanted to, finished it, so I wanted to show it to you. I'm really pleased with it, apart from the buttons popping undone, not off slightly too easily, but I might just, if that becomes an issue, I think I could probably just put an extra stitch on each of the buttonholes, maybe just to make them a little bit smaller, because they have sort of, you can see that they've stretched quite big really, quite wide, haven't they? So if I just put another stitch in, then it might help close them. But other than that, really, really pleased with it. And I made it with drops Nord, so it's really warm and cozy and soft, and I really like the colour. It's very me. The cardigan design, it's actually designed to be a bit of a oversized, large, loose cardigan, and that's how it's worn in all the pictures, but I made mine a bit more fitted, as you could see when I was wearing it. Put it back on again. So it isn't really such a loose one, and actually I made a bit of a mistake on the sleeves in that I was decreasing too frequently, so they should have stayed wider for longer, but I think it was all right in the end. So the sleeves, especially the bottom half, are quite fitted, but I quite like it like that, and I'm quite happy with the fit. But as a result, the cardigan does include pockets, which you just, it has this same, the pockets have this same sort of pattern along the top, lacy pattern, and then you just make them, they're like a rectangle with a bit of ribbing along the top first, sorry, and then the lacy pattern, and you sew them on either side here. So I did make 1.5 pockets actually, and then I was trying it on and sort of showing it to my husband, and he wasn't really convinced by the pockets at all. And I think in the end I decided, although I'd made the pockets or nearly finished making them, I thought he was probably right. And as much as I love the idea of having pockets in cardigans, because I'm all for pockets, you can never really have too many, I thought that on this cardigan, with it ending up much more fitted than the original design, it would be better not to put the pockets on, because they might just sort of bulk it out and look a bit too much. So I've left the pockets off. So, and I did actually, I wasn't sure what to do with them. It felt a bit sad to do it, but I did actually just throw them away, because I didn't really know what else to do with those little bits of crochet. But yeah, apart from that, really pleased with it. Really nice and warm, and it's finished. Really pleased that I did manage to finish it in time for autumn and autumn weather. So as soon as I finish this, pretty much, I started a new project, and this one is actually knitting, which I haven't done. I have done some knitting. Last winter, you might remember, I knitted a hat, a woolly hat, the ribbon gather hat by Emma Potter of Potter and Bloom, and I have in the past done some small amounts of knitting as well. I knitted a small baby jumper for my daughter before she was born, and I knitted a blanket as well, which pardon me, took absolutely ages. I was knitting it for my first daughter didn't finish it before she was born, then didn't work on it at all, but did then manage to finish it off just before my second daughter was born. But that was nice, but I think I prefer crocheting blankets because knitting them just takes forever. Anyway, I did really enjoy knitting that hat last winter, and always thought that since then that I do want to do a bit more knitting because I really enjoyed it. So I have started the Felix pullover or sweater, I'm not sure, Felix Jumper by Savoury Knitting, and it's a bit hard to show you. This is how far I have got. As you can see, it is pretty much exactly the same colour as my cardigan, and it is another Drops yarn. This is Drops Nepal, I think. Yeah, Drops Nepal, which this is an Aran weight yarn, so it's really soft. But what appealed to me about this was because it's Aran and I'm not a very experienced knitter, I figured it would knit up a lot quicker, obviously, than using a thinner yarn. And so with my knitting not being particularly quick or speedy, I thought that was a good choice. So where I've got to at the moment, it's top down. So this is the neckline here. And I've just got down as far as I think now I'm going to have to split for the sleeves. So it's quite a sort of simple, straightforward design, the jumper, if you don't know it. It's just straight plain sort of knitting here, stockinette stitch, and then it's got these, see if I can show it to you, so on the sort of front and back of each shoulder where you increase basically, it's got this, I'm not doing a very good job of showing it to you, am I? It's got these like lacy little holes in sort of upturned V's. Can you see them? I'll try and put in a photo. There, that's better, isn't it? There. So there's 4 of them I think I've got for the size I'm making, going down the front and back of each shoulder. Stretching it out to show you. Yeah, there you can see it. So that it has those sort of pretty details. They come like down there and there. And then the rest is just plain knitting. So I'm really enjoying this. I was a bit worried at one point because I was enjoying it so much, the knitting. I was worried that I wouldn't want to ever crochet again, which was quite a scary thought. Although my daughter, she was sitting next to me while she was knitting, and she said she prefers it when I'm crocheting because when I'm knitting, the knitting needles make the clicking, tapping sound, and she said crochet is a lot quieter than knitting when I do it. So she prefers it when I knit, and she prefers it when I crochet, not when I knit. So she doesn't really want me to do too much more knitting because of that, but I'm really enjoying it. But having worked on that sort of solidly for a week or so, I have since then picked up my crochet hook again and been crocheting. So if you were worried about me stopping crochet, don't worry, I am still doing both. And yeah, I think I'll try and limit myself probably to just one knitting project at a time, and I'm going to try and not ever have more than one on the go, if sometimes probably none on the go, because knitting is just something, it'll just be for me, whereas crochet, it's sometimes for me, sometimes for other people, sometimes it's a design, a pattern that I'm going to be publishing or selling. So whereas knitting is just a sort of a personal hobby, if you like, for me. So that's the Felix jumper, which I'm really enjoying, and hopefully we'll have it finished before the end of the winter. We'll see how that goes. So next thing to tell you about is so there was a bit of a gap I had in podcasting. So I did a podcast in March, and then I didn't do one again until I think it was the beginning of August. So I was looking back over that period. So in August I did the first podcast when I started up again. I did cover quite a few things that I'd done quite recently, but not everything that had happened over that period. So I thought what I might do is in the next few podcasts, there's a few things that happened in that period which I would quite like to tell you about, and I might just drop in one or maybe two things in some of the coming episodes to cover some of the things that I've made. So this episode, what I thought I'd show you is this cowl that I made, and the reason I'm showing it to you now is because the designer is Nomad Stitches, the same designer of this cardigan, and this is called the Merrick Cowl, and it's not exactly how it's designed. And the other reason I thought I'd get it out was because it's getting a little bit cooler now and it's not really quite coat weather, but sometimes you want a little bit of extra warmth, so I thought a cowl just to put around my neck on the school run in the mornings, probably not a bad idea. So yeah, I got it out the wardrobe this morning. This is the Merrick Cowl and it's designed by Nomad Stitches, Sandra Gutierrez, and this is from her book Colourful Crochet Knitwear, which came out earlier this year. I was lucky enough to be sent this copy from the publishers David and Charles to review, and when I got it, I did a review of it on my blog, so I'll pop a link to that in the show notes, as well as links to all the patterns that I talk about as usual, but there'll be a link to my review of this book if you do want to read it. But so I was sent that earlier this year, and this is the pattern. I made this pattern from the book just to try it out. It's not exactly how it is in the book, and when I started I was going to make it exactly as it is in the book. See if I can find what page it's on, I'm not sure. But then I'll explain to you in a minute. I can show you what the original pattern was. Here it is. Right, so that's the picture of it in the book. So you can see it's got this sort of steppy, stripy pattern, and then it's got a more intricate pattern. I'm moving it one way, aren't I? It's got a more intricate pattern in the middle, and then a repeat of the steppy bit. So I started off obviously with the steppy bit, but then absolutely just loved that pattern and decided to stick with it for the whole of the cowl rather than doing the other pattern in the middle, just to keep it sort of simple. I made this with Shapey's linen soft, I think it was. I think it's a mixture of cotton and linen, so it's not like hugely hot or warm, but I think I like the colours, and this was just some yarn I had in the stash, happened to be the right weight, and although I think I should have perhaps used a smaller hook, it's ended up a bit bigger than it was in the pattern. But yeah, I use this yarn because it's in my stash, but I think it's quite nice and not too hot for this sort of weather, because otherwise if you had a really hot warm yarn, it would could make you get quite hot with this sort of cowl, but it's just enough to give you a bit of warmth. So I thought I'd show you that because it's by the same designer, and I do really like her work, her patterns. The confetti, I think it's just called the Confetti DK pullover that I made and showed a couple of podcasts ago that I made with my daughter. That's another design by Nomad Stitches as well, and she also designs knitting patterns as well as crochet, so you never know, one day I might try one of her knitting patterns as well. But there's lots, as you can see, I've got a few little pages marked with scraps of paper, so there's quite a lot of other designs in here that I really like. They're all colourwork designs using different techniques, so they use tapestry crochet, this is mosaic crochet, I think there's an intarsia design, which I think is this spotty cardigan here. That one's not so much me, and this one is just like colour block, so quite straightforward colour work. But this jumper's amazing, isn't it, on the front cover. I really like that one. I can't remember what that one's called. And that, I think, is tapestry crochet. I can't remember. This is another really nice one as well. That's a mosaic crochet pullover. Look at that yoke, isn't it amazing? So yeah, lots of other designs in here that I'd like to make. This t-shirt, not t-shirt, sorry, vest. There's a vest called the Fern Bay Tank, which is quite striking, isn't it? Though I do wonder sometimes about whether it be what sort of weather you'd wear it in. You wouldn't want it to be super hot, but then your arms might get chilly if it's not cold. So that's another one though that I've looked at and thought I might make. And oh, this is it, the one I was showing on the front cover. It's the Ale Yak pullover, which is gorgeous, and that is I think it's tapestry crochet. It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah. And there was one other thing in here that I really liked. What was it? This one I do think is really nice, but I don't, not in those colours, not for me in those colours. I think in other different colours, I think that could look brilliant. And I like how the pattern's just on the yoke and at the bottom, but then a nice solid bit in the middle. Yeah, maybe that was it. There's some nice hat and gloves as well. So I think this is probably a book that I will definitely be returning to and making more things from. And also just generally I keep an eye out and follow her designs and patterns because I do really like them. Right, so that's it in terms of makes to show you. Last episode I showed you my finished Jura blanket and said I was about to write it up and hopefully would do that soon. I have started writing it up, but it's not yet finished. It probably needs about another half hour to an hour or so of writing up, and then I'll get it out to testers. So hopefully, I know I probably said the same thing last time, but hopefully it'll be out in the next few weeks. I would like to get it out in definitely before the end of October, because it's got a sort of an autumn theme to it. So September, October time feels like a good time to get it out. So yeah, that one's still on its way. Then at the end of August, I received a really exciting email. So I have been asked to do a crochet workshop at the Crochet Sanctuary, which is a retreat up in Cheshire in the northwest of England near Crewe at the end of November. So I was absolutely amazed when this email just dropped into my inbox, and really excited as well. So what had happened was, normally their designers, so if you don't know them, the Crochet Sanctuary is a crochet retreat which is run at a hotel up in Cheshire, and I think they do them every month or so. There's quite a few each year, and they're from Friday to Sunday, and people go there and they make various crochet projects basically, and it looks like they have a really nice time and get fed really well, and just looks like a really nice thing to do. It's something that I have seen and it's been on my radar in the past, the Crochet Sanctuary, and thought, wow, that would be amazing, wouldn't it be brilliant to go and do one of those things. So when I got an email saying would I like to come and do a workshop for them, I was absolutely over the moon and so excited. So what had happened was they had a designer lined up to do their workshop at the end of November this year. So normally these things, I think all of next year's sorted with designers as well already. Normally these things get sorted well in advance, and the designer was lined up for the workshop at the end of November, but unfortunately circumstances have changed for them because they were booked so far in advance. Family things have happened and the designer's no longer able to make it. So the designer that was supposed to be going was Dennis, who's an amigurumi, really amazing amigurumi designer. So they needed someone to step in sort of relatively last minute, and they asked me, I was approached and they asked me if it was something I'd be interested in, and would I be available. And so I checked the calendar, discussed it with my husband, and yeah, I was available. And so I was really excited to be able to say yes, that I could do it and I would like to do it. So now what I'm working on at the moment, I can't show it to you because I think it's supposed to stay secret until the workshop, but I'm having to come up with a design for the workshop that I'll be doing as part of that weekend. It's because the weekend's at the end of November, it's got a sort of Christmassy theme. So I can't really tell you too much, but it is a slightly Christmassy design, well, wintry design, but it's one that you could make it in different colours, I think, and it would be less Christmassy, and you could potentially make it at other times of year. And it's not, it's more perhaps wintry than Christmassy. So it's not got Father Christmas on it or Christmas trees, nothing that just screams Christmas in that way that would only be Christmas, but it's more of a winter design. So I'm not going to say any more about it in case I give too much away that I'm not supposed to, but I thought it would probably be alright if I show you the yarn that I've decided to use for it. So it's these colours of, this is Shape Use Katona, which is a cotton yarn. So the main colour is going to be blue, and I just use a tiny bit of the yellow and the white, and then quite a bit of red and green as well. So it does look, the colours, the way I use them, do all look quite Christmassy in what I'm making. So once the workshop's happened, which is at the end of November, I'll be able to show you what I've actually made. I've nearly finished it now, and I'm quite really pleased with how it's turning out. And I'll also be able to release the pattern as well as a pattern. So I'll be hopefully releasing that early December. So if anyone else wants to make it in time for Christmas, they should be able to. So the workshop is, I think it's 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, I have to check. So it's not a massive project, but they said it's okay if people don't quite finish it during the workshop. So and that they said that that's normally the case, and that's what happens, that people don't actually quite finish it while they're there. So, and then they can finish it off afterwards. So if people don't manage to finish it on the day, they will be able to finish it off later. And what's really nice for me as well is I host the workshop for 2 or 3 hours on the 3 or 4 hours on the Saturday afternoon, and then I also get to join in and take part in all the other things that happen on the weekend. So it starts on the Friday afternoon and ends on, or Friday evening, and then it ends on Sunday afternoon. So I'm really looking forward to going up and doing that at the end of November. But I do need to crack on and finish off making this and writing up the pattern so that it's all ready for them. They haven't, I don't know exactly when they need it by, but I'm guessing they need it in reasonable time in advance so that they've got time to order the yarn for it for everyone. So that is that's my most exciting news to share with you since the last podcast. What else was I going to talk to you about? So at the end of my podcast, I often have a little section about what I've been listening to, and I haven't really listened to so many audiobooks since, because I like to listen to something while I'm crocheting rather than watching the TV. I find I get more done if I'm watching something as well, and then I end up having minutes passing by where I'm not actually working on anything. So I haven't listened to so many audiobooks. I haven't finished any recently, so I'll wait until I've finished off the ones I'm listening to before I tell you about those. But I have been listening to quite a few podcasts. Some I have been watching and listening to on YouTube, but mainly listening and then glancing every so often to see what people are doing. But also I've been listening to some audio podcasts, including the Crochet Sanctuary, who are the people, Lisa and Linda, the two people who run it. They do an audio podcast where they chat about the Crochet Sanctuary and what's been going on. So I have been listening and catching up on some of their back episodes on that, which has been really nice, and just to sort of hear a bit more about what's been happening and what they've been doing before I go up and see everyone at the end of November. And Lisa, who's one of the two hosts of the Crochet Sanctuary, she's actually been making my Vita blanket, which I shared in the last episode, which is the big like cream one with lots of green leaves and 2 different shades of green on it. And she's making it in exactly the same yarn and colours as my design. So that was really exciting to hear that she liked that pattern so much and was choosing to make it. And then I heard them chatting on the podcast, and Linda, I can't remember exactly what she said now, but she had some, I think, hesitation. I'm not sure if she wasn't sure about it, but she was some hesitation towards tapestry crochet. So I'm really hoping, I've given a little bit away now, but my design does involve tapestry crochet for the workshop I'm doing, as you probably would have assumed anyway, given that the vast majority of my designs are tapestry crochet. But I'm really hoping that I can win her over with this design during the workshop and convert her to the joys of tapestry crochet as well. So fingers crossed on that, and I'll let you know how I get on. The previous designer who was due to be there, like I say, was an amigurumi designer, so that's quite different to tapestry crochet. So I hope the people coming on the workshop aren't too disappointed and about the lack of amigurumi in my designs, and that they enjoy the tapestry crochet as instead of the amigurumi. Hopefully that it's something that they will enjoy as well, because there's no way I could do an amigurumi design. And that's about it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching. It's been really nice chatting to you about what's been going on, and I hope you have a lovely few weeks and enjoy whatever it is you're making. Let me know in the comments. It'd be lovely to hear from you what you're working on at the moment, or if you've been working on something while you've been watching this. And have a great few weeks, and I will see you all again next time. Bye bye.